In 1989, Poland was completely broke. Its economy was collapsing, its currency was almost worthless, store shelves were empty, and economists across Europe predicted total disaster. But 3 decades later, something strange and almost impossible happened. While much of Europe struggled with heavy debt, very slow growth, and serious financial crises, Poland's economy exploded in growth. It became one of the fastest-growing economies in Europe. Millions of people escaped poverty, and during the 2008 global financial crisis, when most European economies shrank and failed, Poland did something that almost no one believed was possible. It kept growing. Poland became the only country in the entire European Union that managed to avoid a recession during that terrible time. So the real question is, how did a bankrupt post-communist country outperform many of Europe's richest and most developed economies? And even more importantly, what financial strategy did Poland use that other countries ignored or did not understand? To understand Poland's economic miracle, we have to go back to the late 1980s when everything was very different. At that time, Poland was completely trapped inside a failing communist system that was falling apart. The government controlled all prices in every store and market. State-owned companies ran almost all industries, and the economy barely functioned at all. Inflation spiraled out of control and created chaos everywhere. By 1989, prices were rising more than 600% every single year. Imagine your salary losing its value every single week. Imagine your savings being completely destroyed. Imagine businesses being totally paralyzed and unable to operate. Imagine investment being almost impossible to do. The country was drowning in debt to foreign countries. Foreign creditors demanded repayment of money that Poland did not have. And Western economists believed Poland faced decades and decades of economic pain and suffering ahead. But then, something incredible happened. A radical financial experiment began. One that would completely rewrite Poland's economic future forever. Poland's new leaders faced an impossible choice. They could keep the old economic system and watch the country slowly collapse into complete failure. Or they could attempt something incredibly risky and dangerous. They could try a sudden transformation into a free market capitalist economy. Economists called this plan shock therapy because it was such a dramatic and sudden change. Instead of slowly reforming the economy over many years, Poland would change everything almost overnight. All prices would be deregulated immediately. State-owned companies would be privatized, trade barriers would be removed. It would be like flipping a switch from total government control to complete open capitalism. Many people warned that this would destroy the economy completely. Factories could collapse, unemployment could skyrocket to very high numbers. Inflation might spiral even worse than before. And in the early years, it almost did exactly what people feared. Thousands of companies failed. Millions of people lost their jobs. Poland's economy shrank dramatically and hurt many people. But hidden beneath all the chaos and suffering, a new financial system was quietly forming in the background. And that system would soon change everything for Poland. The real turning point came in the 1990s when things started to improve. While many other countries in Eastern Europe struggled and fell behind, Poland made one crucial financial decision that changed everything. It focused on building strong capital markets. Not just government reforms and changes, but real investment and real capital flowing into the country. Banks were modernized and improved. Stock markets were created from nothing. Foreign investors were invited into Poland with open arms. And suddenly, global capital started flowing into Poland from all over the world. Factories reopened and started producing again. New companies formed and started businesses. And international corporations began building massive operations inside the country. Companies from around the world wanted to invest in Poland because they saw opportunity there. But Poland did something even smarter than just waiting for foreign capital. Instead of relying only on foreign capital and foreign money, Poland invested heavily in local entrepreneurship and Polish businesses. Small businesses exploded in number and size. Tech companies emerged from Polish entrepreneurs. Manufacturing expanded rapidly. And slowly but surely, Poland transformed into a powerful economic engine that could produce real wealth. But the real test of whether Poland's strategy worked was still coming in the future. Because in 2008, the entire global financial system began collapsing and falling apart in ways that shocked the world. The 2008 global financial crisis devastated economies worldwide and affected almost every country. Banks collapsed everywhere, stock markets crashed and lost huge amounts of value. Unemployment soared across Europe and left many people without jobs. Countries like Greece, Spain, and Italy fell into deep recession and struggled for years. The situation seemed almost hopeless for many countries. But Poland did something absolutely extraordinary during this time. Its economy did not contract like other countries. In fact, it kept growing even while the world was falling apart. Poland became the only country in the entire European Union to avoid a recession during the crisis. This was almost unbelievable to economists watching it happen. How did Poland manage to do this impossible thing? Well, the answer is partly because Poland never fully adopted the euro currency like many other European countries did. Instead, Poland kept its own currency called the zloty. That choice allowed its central bank to adjust monetary policy very quickly and make changes when needed. They could lower interest rates when necessary. They could change exchange rates with flexibility. And they could provide targeted financial support to businesses that needed help. At the same time, strong domestic demand kept businesses alive and operating. Polish people kept buying things and spending money because their economy was growing. They did not stop spending like people in other countries did. Polish banks were also much more conservative than many Western banks in other countries. These banks had less speculation happening. They had less toxic debt on their books. And they had fewer risky financial derivatives and complex financial products that caused problems in other countries. In other words, Poland had accidentally built one of the most resilient financial systems in all of Europe without really planning it that way. They had made good decisions and smart choices that protected them when crisis came. Poland's economic rise reveals a powerful and important lesson about money and finance that everyone should understand. Economic success is not just about having wealth and resources. It is about having the right financial structure and the right systems in place. Countries that build strong capital markets, countries that encourage entrepreneurship and small business, and countries that maintain flexible monetary policy, they often outperform richer nations that have more money but worse systems. Poland went from a bankrupt communist economy that was falling apart to one of Europe's fastest-growing markets and a success story. Today, Poland is one of the continent's largest manufacturing hubs where products are made for the entire world. It has become a rising tech center where innovation happens and companies create new things. And it is now a key economic power in Eastern Europe with real influence and importance. The country that was broke in 1989 is now strong and growing. But the bigger question that we must ask is this: could other countries repeat Poland's strategy and achieve the same success? Or was this economic miracle the result of a very unique moment in history that can never happen again? Because if the same financial patterns are repeating today in other countries, then the next economic miracle might already be forming somewhere else right now without anyone noticing it. The story of Poland teaches us important lessons about how economies work and how countries can transform themselves. First, it shows that economic transformation is possible, but requires courage and difficult choices. Poland's leaders chose to accept short-term pain for long-term gain. Many people suffered during the early years of shock therapy. Factories closed, jobs disappeared, and inflation continued to cause problems. But the leaders stayed committed to their vision of a free market economy. They did not give up or reverse course even when things looked bad. This commitment was essential to Poland's eventual success. Second, Poland's story shows that building strong institutions matters more than just having resources or money. Many countries have natural resources and could be wealthy, but they lack the institutions to turn those resources into real economic growth. Poland did not have huge natural resources like oil or diamonds, but it built institutions like banks, stock markets, and a legal system that protected business and investment. These institutions attracted capital and encouraged entrepreneurship. When the financial crisis came, these strong institutions protected the economy because they were built on solid foundations. Third, Poland's experience shows that monetary independence and flexible exchange rates matter very much during economic crises. Poland's decision to keep its own currency instead of adopting the euro allowed its central bank to respond quickly to the 2008 crisis. When the crisis hit, Poland could lower interest rates and adjust the exchange rate of its currency. This gave businesses and people relief when they needed it most. Countries that gave up their own currency, like those using the euro, had much less flexibility and struggled more during the crisis. This is an important lesson about the value of keeping control over your own monetary policy. Fourth, Poland's success shows that diversified economic growth is important. Poland did not rely on just one industry or one source of income. Instead, it developed manufacturing, technology, agriculture, and services all at the same time. This diversity meant that when one sector faced problems, other sectors could still grow and provide jobs. It also meant that Poland was not overly dependent on foreign investment. While foreign investment helped, Polish companies and entrepreneurs also created growth and jobs. This diversification made the economy more stable and resilient. Fifth, Poland's story teaches us that cultural factors and human capital matter in economic development. Polish people have a strong work ethic and educational tradition. There is a culture of entrepreneurship and innovation. Polish universities produce well-educated workers and engineers. Polish immigrants have succeeded in many countries around the world, which shows the quality of human capital coming from Poland. When Poland opened its economy, this human capital combined with capital from foreign investors created powerful economic growth. The people of Poland had the skills and motivation to build new businesses and industries. The Polish economic miracle also teaches us something important about timing and luck in economic development. Poland was lucky that the fall of communism came at a time when global capital was looking for new investment opportunities. China and India were also opening their economies at similar times, but Poland offered advantages like educated workers, location in Europe, and political stability. Poland was also fortunate that its government committed to the difficult reforms needed for a free market economy. In other post-communist countries, governments were less committed or less stable, and economic development did not happen the same way. Sometimes, even good policies need the right timing and luck to succeed. What makes Poland's story truly remarkable is not just that it grew fast, but that it did so while maintaining relative stability and avoiding the financial crises that hurt other countries. The 2008 global financial crisis was the real test of Poland's economic model. When major economies like the United States, Britain, and much of Europe fell into deep recession, Poland continued to grow. This was not an accident. It was the result of the decisions made in the 1990s to build strong institutions, encourage diversified economic growth, and maintain monetary independence. When the crisis came, these foundations protected Poland. Poland's experience also shows us something important about the danger of becoming too dependent on other countries' financial systems. Some countries adopted the euro and gave up control of their monetary policy. When the crisis came, these countries could not respond flexibly. They had to accept rules set by other countries and international organizations. Poland's decision to keep its own currency gave it the freedom to respond to the crisis in ways that protected its people and businesses. This independence was crucial to Poland's success. Today, Poland is a member of the European Union and NATO, but it has maintained enough economic independence to protect its interests. Poland is now one of the strongest economies in Eastern Europe and is becoming more important in European affairs. Polish companies are competing globally in manufacturing and technology. Polish workers are earning better wages and living standards have improved dramatically. The poverty that plagued Poland in 1989 has been greatly reduced. More people have access to education, healthcare, and opportunity. But Poland's success also comes with new challenges. As Poland becomes wealthier, labor costs increase, and companies may move to even cheaper countries. Poland must continue to invest in education and innovation to stay competitive. It must maintain the strong institutions that got it this far. It must continue to encourage entrepreneurship and support small businesses. If Poland can do these things, it can continue its remarkable economic growth and become one of Europe's richest and most developed countries. The question for other countries is whether they can replicate Poland's success. Some elements of Poland's strategy seem specific to Poland's unique situation. Poland had a well-educated population, a historical connection to Europe, and the luck of good timing when it needed it. But other elements of Poland's strategy could work in other countries. Building strong institutions, encouraging entrepreneurship, maintaining monetary independence, and developing diverse industries are things that many countries could do. Many developing countries today could learn from Poland's example and try similar policies. However, the global economy has changed since the 1990s when Poland was building its economy. Global supply chains are more complex, technology is changing faster. Competition from other countries is more intense. China and India now offer lower-cost labor than Poland. So countries trying to follow Poland's path today would face different challenges and opportunities. They would need to adapt Poland's strategy to their own situation, but the basic principles of building strong institutions, encouraging entrepreneurship, and maintaining flexibility would likely help any country trying to develop its economy. Poland's economic miracle reminds us that even hopeless situations can be transformed with the right strategy, the right leadership, and the right choices. In 1989, few people believed Poland could succeed. The country was broke, inflation was out of control, and the economy barely functioned. But bold leaders made difficult decisions, smart policies were implemented, and people worked hard to build a new economy. 3 decades later, Poland is a success story that inspires people around the world. The lesson of Poland is that economic growth and development is possible if a country is willing to make the difficult changes needed. It is not easy, and it requires sacrifice. People suffer during the transition, and some people are left behind. But if the policies are sound, and if institutions are strong, and if people believe in the vision, then economic transformation is possible. Poland proved this. From being one of Europe's poorest countries, Poland became one of Europe's fastest-growing economies. That is the Polish economic miracle, and it is a story that teaches us all something important about money, finance, and the possibility of change.